Listen. Listen. What the
in the path of justice, love, and charity to one another. Help us with that grace to do only those things that will promote the unity, happiness, and prosperity of Nigeria.
Amen. On Tuesday, the 25th of July, and Wednesday, the 21st of February, consider two motions on the need to halt the proposed increase in tariffs and gave this responsibility to the Committee on Power. The committee met and did an investigative hearing, and these are the resolutions and the findings from the committee investigative hearing. The findings can be found on page 35 of the report, so that we can go direct to page 35. Taking into consideration the above observations, and having regard to the oral and written submissions by stakeholders at the public investigative hearing, the committee makes the following findings. 1, since the conclusion of the privatization of power assets in 2013, the Nigerian electricity market has been plagued by huge liquidity crisis that cuts across the entire power value chain, and this is attributable to the subsidized tariff regime, where the federal government of Nigeria bears responsibility for between 75% to 91% of the monthly NBET invoices as tariff subsidy. 2, official figures made available to the committee indicate that although the federal government subsidy obligation reduced from 528 billion in 2019 to 144 billion in 2022, that it rose again to hit 2.9 trillion naira in 2024 due to foreign exchange and inflation, while the legacy debt of the gas supply companies stood at $1.3 billion. The Minister of Power, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, and the distribution companies, DISCOs, were unanimous in their presentation that the over 200% upward review, which affected Band A category of customers, was the best option to reduce the subsidy burden from 240 billion per month to about 100 billion per month. However, the preponderance of opinion of stakeholders support the suspension of the tariff due to the bad timing and poor consultations, which is against the provisions of Section 48 and 49 of the Electricity Act 2023. 4, the upward review of the tariff under the MITO Multi-Year Tariff Order 2024 is a service-based tariff rather than a cost-reflective tariff. And this was justified by NERC on the basis of the feedback NERC received after the public hearing on tariff review, which is expected to catalyze investments by the DISCOs and strengthen the current migration away from embed to bilateral contracts, which will allow the discos pay the right rates to the GENCOs. The MITO 24-5, MITO is multi-year tariff order, was arrived after taking into consideration the key market review indices, namely inflation, exchange rate, transmission loss factor, generation cost, transmission and administrative costs, wholesale gas to power prices, and benchmark gas transportation tariff. However, NERC failed to provide what should happen to those rates in case of positive changes in the indices above. The MITO 24-6 also approved the upward review of rates from 68 naira per kilowatt hour to 255 naira per kilowatt hour, and also abolished the customer classification typical of tariff design, which comprises of residential, R1, R2, and R3, commercial, C1 and C2, and demand to the present band A, B, C to E, thereby unilaterally switching customers from the nature of power usage to the feeder of connection. 7, the minimum remittance obligations of the distribution companies contained in this MITO order is a far cry when juxtaposed with the monthly market invoice of 240 billion, implying that the MITO 2024 approved a 91% monthly loss based on their minimum remittance obligation. 8, the generating companies, GENCOs, queried the fact that the multi-year tariff order is silent on the unpaid balance of their invoices after the distribution companies have met their minimum remittance obligations. 9, the generating companies stated that since 2013, the wholesale electricity market has not invoiced greater than 4,000 megawatts monthly. So if the entire 4,000 megawatts is divided by the 1.8 million band A customers, the system can only support an average band A customer load for 20 hours, leaving practically no energy for the rest of band B to E customers. And therefore, the MITO 2024 will only entrench power starvation for those in customer classes band B to E. The MITO 2024-10 approved a CAPEX, which is capital expenditure, and OPEX allowance. OPEX is operating expenditure to the distribution companies without any evidence of their proper utilization of these two allocations under previous tariff orders. On metering, 11, the customer committee found that 47% out of the 12.1 million connected customers are currently metered, leaving a metering gap of 53% or 6.3 million customers, which is exclusive of those meters that need to be replaced, and upcomer customer enumeration. However, distribution companies are subject to a capping order to ensure that customers under estimated billings are not subjected to arbitrary bills when metered. 12. To address the perennial metering gap, the federal government had in the past intervened through various metering schemes since 2015 to ensure accelerated deployment of end-user meters, namely the Credit Assistance Program for Mass Metering Initiative, CAPMI, the Meter Asset Provider Programs, MAP, the National Mass Metering Program, NMMP, all of which achieved a metering deployment of 2.4 million meters, with a huge metering gap of 6.3 million customers, requiring about 800 billion to cover the gap. Currently, there is a presidential metering initiative being implemented through a presidential metering council under the chairmanship of the Honorable Minister of Power. 13, on the mandate of the committee to ensure judicious utilization of the 10.5 billion naira penalty imposed on distribution companies, the committee finds that the penalty imposed on distribution companies for non-compliance with the capping order is not cash payment, but a direct deduction in their approved operating expenses, chargeable to the customers via tariffs. 14, on the status of the federal government intervention to close the metering gap, the committee finds that from inception in 2020 to date, 55.4 billion has been disbursed by the Central Bank of Nigeria to 11 distribution companies for procurement and installation of 962,832 meters, 962,832 meters. The program is implemented through the CBN's established special purpose vehicle, NERC, that which is National Electricity Supply Stabilization Strategy Limited, as the fund administrator, while Meristem Wealth Management Limited is the fund manager. All the 11 discos benefited from this intervention, with each accessing about 5.4 billion only. As at today, 6.3 billion naira has been repaid, leaving an outstanding balance of 49 billion yet to be paid by the discos. 15, there is a subsisting agreement between the Federal Ministry of Power and the Ziglasis network comprising of an original tripartite agreement between the federal government when it was NEPA and Unistar High-Tech Systems and Ziglasis dated 5th December 2003 for the manufacture, supply, installation, management, and maintenance of 3 million prepaid meters. By virtue of the agreement, Ziglasis is to be funded for the project by way of a loan through a $200 million DMO Eurobond, raised and converted at that prevailing market rate, which accrued at the bank interest to about 39 billion. 16, the absence of a consumer affairs department in the Ministry of Power to drive the demand side issues on the sector. Recommendations. This is on page 40. The committee, after exhaustive deliberations and observations, recommends as follows. One, that NERC, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, suspends the ongoing implementation of the multi-year tariff order 2024, which approved over 200% upward review of the previous tariffs from 68 naira per kilowatt hour to 225 naira per kilowatt hour to allow for robust consultation with customers on the various bands on the cost of service, instead of heavy reliance on feeder location and duration of service, which are difficult to determine and monitor. Two, that NERC should ensure full compliance with the mandatory requirement of stakeholder consultation under Section 48 of the Electricity Act 2023 regarding future regulatory decisions to avoid a repeat of the confusion and the public outcry that trailed the recent tariff increase. Mr. President, you know that a lot of Nigerians don't know where they belong, whether it is Band A, Band B, or C, or E. Three, that the Ministry of Power and NERC should, in the meantime, adopt measures to address the problem of power scarcity holistically, rather than its preoccupation with price manipulation, which has proven to be counterproductive. Mr. President, why the committee recommended this is that at the moment, in addition to NERC, to the DISCOs, and to the GENCOs and all the other areas, we have, at the moment, 3 different initiatives by the government located inside the presidency, which the committee has no access or information about. That is the Presidential Metering Initiative. We have nothing about it. We don't know who runs it. The Federal Government Power Company Limited, this Senate knows nothing about it. The National Assembly does not control it. And the Presidential Power Initiative, that is the Siemens Power Project, which we have no information about. And also the Niger Delta Power Holding Limited, which is running all the GENCOs, but are located in the presidency, and we do not run their budgets or oversight them. 4, that NERC should hold the DISCOs accountable for key performance indicators, KPIs, including the failure to deliver on their capital expenditure and operating expenditures, customer metering obligations under the Electricity Act, essential customer service obligations, including customer sensitization, implementation of energy credits to customers who have invested in transformers, meters, and other assets to the DISCOs. Mr. President, every senator here and most of the members of House of Rep continue to provide transformers and other items to their constituents, and yet this in no way is seen by NERC in holding the DISCOs accountable for such capital expenditures. 5, that the rate designs should only be cost reflective if proper account is taken of the relevant macroeconomic environment that determine the affordability of electricity to the different segments of the market. 6, that the federal government metering intervention should be encouraged and intensified to address the current metering gap of 6.3 million and this must be pursued by the federal government without prejudice to the statutory obligation of the discos to meter their customers, as provided under Section 68(1)(b) of the Electricity Act. In this regard, Mr. President should be commended for the introduction of the Presidential Metering Initiative. We only ask that the National Assembly should oversight this. 7, the Federal Ministry of Power should be advised to intensify efforts towards honoring the subsisting contract between Ziglas's Network Limited for the manufacture, supply, installation, management, and maintenance of prepaid meters, including the recent tripartite metering project consortium agreement, signed between ZNL, the Harbour Global Services, and Nigerian Army, which was dated 7 September 2023, which was signed by ZNL for metering of army barracks and other military facilities, or in the alternative, refund the initial funding of the federal government to the federal government. The reason is that there's a subsisting court agreement and a court order signed by the three entities. 8, that vigorous implementation of power decentralization provided for under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Electricity Act 2023 to relieve the federal government of the pressure to electrify every nook and cranny of this country should be encouraged. The Electricity Act has already given states and private entities the power to meter and supply power in their own right to different sections of the country. 9, the Ministry of Power should establish an electricity consumer protection unit to develop, implement, and enforce the electricity consumer protection component of the Electricity Act 2023 under sections 34(2)(c) and 1191(f). Conclusion. The committee wishes to use this opportunity to express its gratitude to the President of the Senate and other distinguished colleagues for finding us worthy to serve in this capacity. We so move.
Thank you very much for the fine and explained report, direct to the point. Very, very clear. This is a wonderful report because it contains every fact that everyone may need to know. So very, very straight to the point. I don't know if anybody would like to say anything because it's so open, very good literature, in black and white. Yes, yes. Okay, so Isa Jibril Ochocho.
Okay. I want to thank the chairman of the committee for a very well reported report. Having said that, Mr. President, I want in developing countries generally, there are some areas of governance that government cannot run away from subsidizing, and one of such is power in Nigeria. And I want us to look at subsidy as itself as an achievement. If the government is able to subsidize an amount of, able to subsidize, okay, the power sector with XYZ amount in a year, that in itself should be counted as an achievement of the government. And that is where we are misconstruing the whole thing. When you say subsidy, people feel that, oh, government is spending so much. No, or government is wasting money. It's not a waste. The government must intervene in some sectors of the economy, and one of such is power. And there's a trade-off here. Trade-off between the subsidy, okay, and the production activities. If you subsidize the power sector, okay, you are in a way encouraging production activities in the to operate optimally. most of the companies in Nigeria today cannot operate because of the issue of power. But if by subsidizing the tariff, you are encouraging them to produce at optimal capacity, thereby encouraging them to employ Nigerians who are loitering around without any defined source of livelihood. The companies itself, as they are producing optimally, they will also be able to pay corporate tax. Okay, the individuals that are employed in those companies will also be able to pay personal income tax. So there's a trade-off here. Trade-off is doing what the government is investing by the way of subsidy and the production activities. Okay, that the companies will be able to operate optimally, and the three benefits I've mentioned are very key: employment opportunities, corporate tax, and personal income tax. So whatever government is investing by way of subsidy should be counted for that government, okay, as an achievement. We should look at it from that way.
Thank you.
Nigerians should look at it from that way.
Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues, and I want to commend the committee for a job well done. And I want to also call on our distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, for this opportunity. We should take this particular issue that affects Nigerians very seriously. So I want to refer to the Constitution. The Constitution says clearly that any other law that is inconsistent with the provision of the Constitution, this Constitution should prevail, and that law shall be, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. This country belongs to us. This democracy belongs to the people. I'm surprised, and there are two surprises now. One is the sudden hike of the electricity tariff, and which to me is against the Constitution, because our Constitution is supreme. Section 42 says that you cannot discriminate against Nigerians. When I heard about this, Band A, Band 2, Band B, Band C, it's discrimination. It's discrimination. And it should not be allowed. This is the first time I'm hearing it, that you can get an hour for 20 hours, and somebody will get it too. Supposing you are living among the masses, and you can afford to pay for 24 hours, and that is what they are supposed to provide. Besides, this power supply, power distribution company belongs to Nigerians. They just took it like that and then use it to be loading charges on Nigerians. Suddenly one morning, they wake up again and say, cybercrime levy. Thank God this president is listening. And we have a responsibility of calling people to order. If you see how the Minister of Power was presenting this increase in power, as if he owns the company and these Nigerians are being provided. It should not be like that. We are appointed, we are elected. Please, SP, I can see that you are running out of patience. But we are supposed to be doing the right thing. Please. We must commend when somebody does a good job and gives us a leadway, we should follow. I'm happy. It's only that he ignored another group. There should be Band G, and I belong to that group. Band generator and renewable energy, because we don't see the light anywhere. So let's take this issue of power so that it doesn't come up. Nigerians are getting too much shock unnecessarily. Somebody will just wake up and say, and get a crazy idea that, increase the power this thing, and you go there and announce it. No, it should go through the National Assembly. That's why we are here. We are representing the people, and anything that affects the people should be before the National Assembly before you do it, please. And so let us not, like this now, if we start discussing this very important matter, you say, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. No. In the U.S. Senate, if a senator stands up to speak, you don't tell him round up until he yields the floor. That is how it's supposed to be. Please.
So, Chief Whip, you are the one that we need to regulate our procedure, and part of the regulation is to give allotment to people to speak. If you speak for 1 hour, 2 hours, then others will not speak. And unfortunately, and you are a Chief Whip. I mean.
Mr. Senate President.
Well, okay, I think we need to understand this. The United States democracy, yes, is presidential like ours, but there are differences between what we do here and what they do there.
Yes.
Section 60 of the Constitution gives us the latitude to regulate our procedure, and we have in our rules. Excuse me, and we have our rules, and our rules give us that arrangement where everybody will be given.
Mr. Senate President. Order.
Now, thank you very much for the attention.
Is this report not about time? And if it's about time, you are the one that regulates time. You are the chief whip. So, minority leader, it's your job. So tomorrow, listen. Tomorrow, come with a motion to amend our rules so that senators will be given 1 hour to speak anytime they want to speak. So you bring.
I said earlier that this is an unnecessary distraction, and we have something here that may not be in the American version, the mood of the Senate. So if somebody stands up to speak for 2 hours and he looks behind in line with the mood of the Senate and there is no senator, maybe we can go on. But quite frankly, I think this is a very, very serious matter, Mr. President, that we just need to concentrate on. Mr. President, it's very sad the way things are going. And I want to commend the committee for a very thorough job, having gone through this report. I also want to commend the aspect of the report that has indicated presidential initiatives. I think that given the power situation in this country and some of the things in this country, any initiative from the presidency or from the president that seeks to ameliorate the conditions of the ordinary person should be appreciated. And it's on that note that I want to commend Mr. President for his initiative on metering, and I want to commend the whole system of medicine, because if you look at it, we are talking about price increases in tariffs and the rest of them, and they are not commensurate with the supply of electricity. In 1 hour, there will be power outage for more than 10 times in this country. Nobody is addressing that one. They are talking about how to increase money for discos. And like the report has shown, which I have said here before, we provide transformers for our communities. And when you provide transformers, even from these discos and the rest of them, to come and install these transformers becomes a problem. If they want to come and even certify the transformers, you have to pay them. And they get the money, and they take ownership of these transformers. If there is a breakdown in line today to any community, they will call you to come and fix it for them. These people will not be there. To come and help in installing them is a problem. And so, Mr. President, I think that we should, on the whole, given what has been recommended here, adopt the recommendations of this committee, because it's a very thorough job and it speaks to the frustration of the average Nigerian. And so it must be halted. We must resolve here to halt this power increase because it's arbitrary and it doesn't speak to any realistic situation in our society today. And unless we take very serious actions against some of these agencies and companies that have taken over some of our national assets, we will not achieve results. I proposed here before that this ceding of this power distribution and rest of them to these discos without appropriate expertise will not help this country. And so, Mr. President, let's take these recommendations and let's adopt them and ensure that this arbitrary increase does not see the light of day. Thank you, Mr. President.
If we go through the rules, thank you, sir. If we go through the rules, let's not bring emotions into this issue. Like the president has said, we are operating a democracy close and near to the American model, but we have different rules. In our rules, although you have overextended time to speak, but you do so at the pleasure of the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate has the power under these rules to provide both the timing and also to recognize people who can to speak. We have no provision in these rules for filibuster, while Americans have filibuster provisions, under their own rules. Under filibuster provisions, you can speak for days. They have those provisions, but we don't have provisions like that. But this one is for another time. If the chief whip want to introduce a filibuster provision, let him come with a motion to this honorable chamber, and then the members will consider that kind of provision and see whether we can readjust our rules to reflect what he wants. But we cannot just sit down and legislate and agree to an American model. But whatever the case, sir, whatever the case, what we are dealing with is the report of the Fire Committee, and the committee of which I'm a member has been assigned to make a report, and we are presenting the report, and let us sit down and focus on the issues that we have presented in the report. Other matters should be left for other times.
Thank you for.
I concur with the positions that have been taken up by Senator Aleru, Senator Abomoro, and the general debate that has happened. I just want to bring our attention to the fact that this particular report, as comprehensive as it is about the MITO and others. But you could see from the various positions, from the various recommendations that have been made, the way in which the power sector is so segmented, with so many initiatives all over the place, with so many different factors. Some of them were not even under the purview of the committee. There are so many systems, part of the systems, within the system, there are so many units that are operating in silos. So, Mr. Chairman, my own position really on this matter is that we look at the subject matter of the report, which made a recommendation that we should look at the issue of power, which is very fundamental to this country in its holistic sense. And that is, we are doing so much subsidy all over, about over 90%, 95% really of the power supply system in this country is subsidized. Now, without really looking at the entire system as a whole, the amount of resources that we spend on power are overextended, and at each point, there is a lot of waste. So my suggestion, Mr. Chairman, is that the committee, maybe at a later time, may come up with maybe a motion about the direction in which we think solutions to the problem of power in this country can be found. And this requires us to look at the system holistically. Now, I subscribe to the position that distinguished Senator Isa Ochocho recently advocated. There is no country in the world that does not subsidize its power supply system. But our own, that we are doing the subsidies in different segments, in different classes. And that accounts for the cost that the federal government is facing.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mohammed Ademu Alero is my name. I represent Kebbi Central. Mr. President, let me start by commending the chairman and members of the committee for a detailed and comprehensive report on the recent increase of our tariff by NERC and discourse. Let me also say that this increase was done without due consultation, as stated in the Electricity Act. It is against the provision of the law. So it was unanimous. It was unanimously agreed that this increase should be halted because it didn't go through the due process. Customers were not consulted, there were no sensitization, and above all, the timing of this increase, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is wrong. Nigerians are confronted with the increase of fuel. Nigerians are also confronted with the increase of the exchange rate fluctuations. And this has made the cost of living to be very, very high. And on top of it, now we are bringing the issue of electricity tariff, the increase. So I participated in the public hearing, and ample opportunity was given to all stakeholders to state their views. And the preponderance of opinion was that this increase should be halted in the interest of the country, because the manufacturing sector that requires electricity to produce goods and services is badly affected. And some of them, the man that came to represent Manufacturers Association of Nigeria stated that some of the manufacturers are even closing their factories because they cannot afford to pay this tariff. And we are here talking every day about diversification of the economy. There is no way you can diversify the economy if you don't go into massive production. And massive production requires power. Electricity is the key. So, in my view, we should go straight to the recommendation. A very good job has been done, and I think we should not waste time in debating this report, because the essence of allowing the committee to do the job is to go and study in detail what and what is required, and that has been done. The Senate cannot, as a committee, discuss the details of this, but it's given to the committee to do that, and they have done a good job. We should go through the recommendation without wasting time. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, my name is Oyewumi Kamaldin Olalere. I represent Osun West Senatorial District of Osun State. Sir, I want to start by thanking the members, the chairman and members of this committee for the job well done. I'm particularly interested in even the topic of this, the title of this report, which reads need to halt the proposed increase in the electricity tariff by 11 discos and the planned hike in electricity tariff. I think that title itself captured the need of the country now. Sir, we have to be very realistic. I said it in one of the hearings then, that we cannot solve on all Nigerian problems in one day because government exists for the people. And whatever any reform is being undertaken by any government, I think it is for the welfare of the people. If that is the issue, we cannot stiffen the people to death in an effort to bring any reform. Sir, I think in the recommendation number 3, I want to emphasize, there is nothing we can do now. The power generation in Nigeria now, as put by the minister itself, is 4,000 megawatts. That has not increased for the last 1 year. There's nothing you can do. We have about 300 million people in Nigeria, and about 180 million are connected already. I think the effort of the government more should be in the generation companies. We have to find a way of increasing what we generate. There is no effort you can put in other distribution or redistribution of the existing 4,000, and you think that will solve any problem. They are owing, from their report, they are owing the Gencos so much money, going to trillions. So those ones are not encouraged to increase the production. Everybody is talking of how to rake money from the customers without increasing what you are selling to them. I think efforts will be made to pay the Gencos so that they will be encouraged to increase the production. Once the production is increased and we increase the metering effort of the government, I think we are going to get better for it. So the Senate will be very emphatic on stopping this tariff to help Nigerians. Thank you, Mr. President.
Decision is pending in such a way as, in the opinion of the President of the Senate, prejudices the interests of the parties thereto. Mr. Senate President, available records information are that a federal high court in Kano has issued an order about this new tariff, and the matter is still pending in court. So I would indulge the Senate to order 52. A federal high court in Kano has issued an order restraining the NERC and from implementing the new tariff. The suit marked FHC CNKS 144-2024 was filed by Super SAC Company Limited and BBY SACs Limited. So this matter is pending in court, and I will indulge the Senate to avoid any further debate on this matter until the matter is finally decided. Thank you.
My name is Jimo Ibrahim, representing the good people of Ondo State. As beautiful as this report is, excellent work done, the Senate must be on the caution side. When a matter is pending before the court of law, we should give respect to the judiciary and allow them to dispense with that matter. We are not in a hurry. The 10th Senate has a lifetime of another 3 years. We have time to discuss this holistically. Like the Senate, the former leader have said, issues converging in this report are many. So there are converging complexities around NEPA itself, around power itself. So, Mr. Senate President, we cannot be the judge here. We are to make laws. In fact, if a particular law like the Constitution cited by the Senate leader has covered the entire field, in constitutional law we call it covering the field, and we will not be able to adjudicate on that. But in lending my support to that motion, I want to say that we step down entirely. This report, on the ground, let me make my point, on the ground that is subjudiced. In fact, why are we debating it? Look at the number of we are in the Senate, less than 1/5, and we carry a report that is of national interest, and less than 1/5 member are discussing it, despite the fact that it's pending in a court of law. We will be unfair and we will be unjust to continue to debate simultaneously a matter that is pending in court. So I also encourage this very motion moved by my brother, that in view of the fact that the matter is pending in court, would you step down this report for now? Thank you.
There's a point of order already. Order, because I need
Reference.
I need to rule on that order.
Yeah, but let me give you the whole order, because he took part of the order. In the opinion of the President of the Senate, not just that you stop anything.
We know this order very well. We know this order very well, but I'm really constrained. If there is a court order stopping the increase in the tariff I'm coming. Yes. Yes.
Cannot
Yes.
go further.
I'm coming. We need to exercise restraint. There isn't need for us to rush the matter. I think there's a need for us to look at both sides. For me, to decide to move on, despite what has been read by the chairman, Senate, excuse me, is the chairman Senate rules? Is the chairman is an important person in the process. Is the chairman of the Rules and Business Committee. I think having raised the issue by the chairman Rules and Business Committee, we need to tarry a while, go with his observation, and then try to give time to consult our legal department to see if we can continue. This is my opinion, I cannot disregard the suggestion or the observation by the chairman Rules and Business. That will not be fair. So we are not saying that we will not continue with the report, but let's stand it down until we resolve the legal issues involved. I saw your order is sustained. So please, let's leave a while, and maybe by next sitting we can conclude the process after taking the advice of our legal department. Leader of the Senate. We have two things. Let me, before we adjourn, commend the chairman of the Committee on Power for the industry he put in packaging his report. He did a wonderful job, and we always look up to him because of his experience here in the chambers of the Senate, and he's someone that whatever duty that is given to him, he always do it to the best of his ability, and he's always perfect in all these things because he has gathered experience in the legislature over time. So we thank you very much for what you've done, and I want to assure our colleagues that after consultation with our legal department, we'll still continue. We'll let you know the step we are going to take further. But the report is still live. It is not out of life. It's still alive. So there's no cause to worry. We shall revert back to it when we take opinion. We seek legal opinion from our legal department. So thank you very much. On this note, this Senate stands adjourned till to Tuesday. What is the date? Tuesday, 21st day of May by 11 a.m. prompt.
Distinguished.